Well, hello again. I'm Brittany Lachelle, and I'd like to welcome you back to the In Her Mind podcast. Today's episode is intentionally titled, Does That Make Me Crazy? Because we're covering the dark side of mental health by shedding light on the realities of emotional well-being and why each of us has a responsibility to care for our whole selves, most importantly, our minds. The stigma around mental health has to end. I question how and when it became so taboo to discuss one of the few things each of us on this earth has in common, feelings. In our premiere episode, It's Now or Never, I spoke of the moment of activation for me that happened while I was in the midst of a voluntary stay at the Brooke Hospital, which is a mental health facility. Although the idea of starting this podcast has been a dream deeply embedded in my heart, the big push to action didn't occur through intense strategic planning and execution. My typical method of approaching life is to carefully assess decisions where I consider every variable, weighing each option fully. And this is cautious, it's a responsible approach, but it can lead to overthinking and it can put me in freeze mode. But this time, my moment of creative clarity came during what I now know was a manic episode of bipolar disorder. So my crazy literally brought out my courage to start writing content and ultimately to share it with you. After years of being told that I had adult ADHD, my time at the Brooke Hospital led to a diagnosis of bipolar disorder. So bipolar disorder is a mental health condition. It's characterized by significant mood swings that can include emotional highs, so that's mania or hypermania, and lows, which can be seen as depression. So during any manic phase, a person can feel extremely energetic, overly happy, or irritable, and they may engage in risky behavior. In my case, quitting my well-paying corporate job before making a solid financial plan or kind of any plans at all, yes, that would definitely constitute as risky behavior. So I imagine some of you are wondering, why? Why? Absolutely, why would this woman publicly share a story like this and invite the world into her business? To be honest, part of me does feel hesitant to talk about it, but I also understand that the very factors tempting me to consider silence are the same factors motivating me to speak up. In the United States alone, 2.8% of adults, or that's 7 million adults, have been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. The statistics are a reminder to me that I'm not at all alone. Other people share my diagnosis. Other people have went on to be successful in their careers, as parents, in love, and in life in general. In 2024, an estimated 26% of Americans aged 18 and up experienced a diagnosable mental disorder. 43% of American adults received some kind of mental health care in 2024. And 20% of adolescents, so that's children 17 and under, they had a mental health problem, or have a mental health problem, actually any given year. So that's an ongoing statistics. So when we look at all of this, in the numbers and even in the realities around us, the proof surrounds us. The evidence is witnessed in people you know. I myself, I've been successful professionally as a parent and beyond. And it is more than possible to be a well-rounded, healthy, and fulfilled person while still living with a mental illness. Bipolar disorder does not define me. I'm speaking openly about my experience so that I can own the narrative and I can decide the power and which part of the narrative gets power. I'm choosing to give power to my choice to get the care that I needed when I needed it most. I'm giving power to the part of my story that highlights how brave, responsible, courageous, and selfless it is to care for your mental health. It could be tempting to give in to the generational curses that plague many Black families specifically. We're often conditioned to keep some things private and not tell family business. Topics like health are so taboo that we likely wouldn't know about our own genetic vulnerabilities to certain illnesses. Running around telling everybody that I'm crazy isn't a good look. That's what the old world order would say. The thing is, I'm not part of the old world order. I'm here to be a truth teller, a change maker, and I want to help people. I'm here to make noise about things that shouldn't be kept quiet anymore. The way I see it, I could choose to allow shame or embarrassment to scare me into silence. Or I could speak up, knowing that my story has the power to change someone's mind. My story could give someone the courage to stop living in the closet about their mental health journey or diagnosis. My story could inspire someone to take time out to get treatment or to visit a health provider and share their symptoms to get a proper diagnosis. And the way I see it, I'm choosing to take a chance, knowing that I have the opportunity to make a positive impact by sharing something so personal. My testimony of being beautiful, brilliant, bold, brave, black, and bipolar might be the life-shifting testimony for someone in need. Does that make me crazy? Well, perhaps, but that's okay with me. What does crazy look like to you? Who decided that crazy has a specific face at all? Many of the physical symptoms have been scientifically claimed, but the physical characteristics of crazy, when applied to a person, well, that's not scientific at all. When dealing with mental health, if we decide that our image of crazy has a specific face and assign it negative connotations, it becomes a slippery slope. It then becomes discrimination. It's classism. It's racism. It's bigotry. It's unjust. It's dangerous and it's irresponsible. The thing about the word crazy is that we've given this word so much power as a society without fully realizing the responsibility that comes with its use. The word crazy is unlike many others because we've accepted its use to describe two completely different extremes within our life experience. For example, the party last night was crazy fun. If I was told this by a friend after missing an event, I would instantly know that I'm going to hear about a party so epic it will be discussed forever. She's using the word crazy to linguistically elevate the level of fun so that my vision can match the level of emotion she's feeling. The party she attended wasn't just fun, it was the epic of fun, crazy fun. The opposite end of the spectrum is when we use the word crazy to describe the state of mind. Now, to be fair, the textbook definition of crazy does encourage a certain application of the word that further perpetuates stereotypes. But we must grow our personal understanding of emotional well-being and mental health to enable a greater competency. Our growth will create a deeper consciousness of ourselves and the people around us. Now, I can admit, the idea of inpatient treatment for mental health can be intimidating. Taking the steps to pursue any form of treatment, whether starting a medication or seeing a therapist, requires commitment. It requires courage. And throughout this episode, we've discussed stigma and a stereotype involved with emotional and mental well-being, and how these limited mindsets have shaped the conversation far too long. Although we need to check the unconscious bias at the door, we do have to consider the social determinants of health that disproportionately impact people of color and the subsequent impact to mental health. Social determinants of health refer to the conditions in which people are born, grow, live, work, and age that influence their health and well-being. They encompass a wide range of factors, including but not limited to socioeconomic status, education, healthcare access and quality, and your neighborhood and built environment. And when we get to talking about neighborhoods and environment, I don't just mean whether or not you're living in a subdivision or a certain zip code with the Publix on the corner. But this is specifically calling out whether or not a person has the opportunity to grow up in a safe and warm home with healthy food on the table consistently. But by no means am I suggesting that the BIPOC community are the only community impacted by mental health. Today, I'm driving home the truth. No community, race, gender, tax bracket, educational level, relationship status, political affiliation, religion, nothing is exempt. If we're alive and breathing, the challenges of life will meet us. During my time at the Brooke Hospital, I saw this through the people I met and the friends that I made. While my stay focused on the treatment plan for bipolar disorder, others were facing different mental and emotional illnesses. Other mental health disorders include attention deficit disorder, or ADHD, post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, as it's more likely known, anxiety, and depression. Some people had experienced a significant life event or trauma, such as eating disorders or recovering from a suicide attempt. And also, many people there were recovering from substance abuse, so whether that be alcohol, opioids, or narcotics, and this could be prescription medicines also, or street drugs. And so everyone's facing something, and some people facing multiple things that I've listed. But none of this defines them. The people I've met are much more than their circumstances. We are real people with real lives that have been impacted by mental health challenges and or substance abuse. I'm purposely using the word we because I want to make something very clear. The major difference between the people listening and those of my story rests in the fact that one timeline has people who are seeking help. At some point, a tower moment, such as my manic episode, landed them in the hospital. But understand that we all have lives to which we belong. Take Sarah, a kind and animated woman I met at the Brook who had spent years as a nurse. Sarah has a master's degree and worked as an instructor preparing future nurses for the field. She mentioned one of her favorite classes to teach was transcultural nursing. Sarah has advanced bipolar disorder and battles substance abuse, which prevents her from practicing, but she still holds a nursing license. I'm recalling the moment of surprise that covered my face when Sarah shared this with me. Even I felt the remorse of assuming something other than a blank slate for Sarah. I'm making a point to highlight her now as another example of how, again, our socioeconomic factors do not exempt us from mental illness. Not that I assumed Sarah wasn't college educated or that she didn't have a life outside of the Brook. It's simply the fact that she has lived and worked as a nurse. And now at this point in life, she is being treated by nurses for mental illness. It can happen to anyone. It does happen to any and everyone. Another person that I met was Dallas. Now, Dallas, he is a former entrepreneur who owned a music entertainment business and has worked with music legends such as Metallica before spending 18 and a half years in prison. Today, he has PTSD from his experience in prison and battles substance abuse while trying to rebuild his life. Despite his challenges, though, Dallas is a person who raises his voice to address issues that matter. We talked about the state of mental health and our shared belief in God as a higher power. My favorite quote from Dallas has to be his statement that prison is called the Department of Corrections because it has turned into a warehouse for criminals. Dallas has strong opinions about the need for prison reform and better living conditions for inmates. Dallas and Sarah are just two of the interesting people I met at the Brook Hospital. Overall, I walked away having met so many interesting, kind, and creative people. I met several parents, artists, musicians, an educator and instructional designer, the owner of a home renovation business, a future pastor, Jacob the rapper and singer, and even a man who was once an actor in a Hallmark movie. And I find myself getting slightly emotional talking about the people that I met because they truly became, in a sense, friends. And it's interesting how friends can come into our life because that's such a strong word that we use. But I've come to an understanding that friends can be made in any situation, and the circumstances that which they come into your life may be just for them to be a friend of a moment. And I made several friends of a moment while I was at the Brook Hospital. And some of those friends are going to continue with me. I would check on them. I know they would check on me. I know they're listening to this podcast. And that is very special. And it says a lot about the type of people they are and the walk that we're having together. And that piece was not planned for me to add to the podcast, but I'm going to leave that in there because it's very true. And I want to shout out to every single one of them because they have made a difference in my life, will continue to make a difference in my life. And I hope that they feel seen, that they feel heard, and that they know they will never be forgotten. And with that, I will say that at the Brook, we spent a lot of time in the community recreation room where therapy sessions are conducted, including sessions for the Alcoholics Anonymous program. And plastered on the wall is a huge poster of the AA Promise. This seems like a fitting way to close the episode because the AA Promise is relevant for anyone who's waging war with mental illness, any emotional struggles, and honestly, this could be applied to any life obstacle that requires you to commit to change in order to see results. The AA Promise says, if we are painstaking about this phase in our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We are going to know a freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize God is doing for us what we could not do ourselves. Are these extra promises? We think not. They are being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialize if we work for them. And with that promise, I hope each of you finds the courage to tackle your well-being goals, no matter how crazy they may sound. Know that you are never alone. God is cheering for you. I am cheering for you. And there are so many others cheering for you. So until next time, be well. Thank you so much for listening today. Have something to add to the conversation? Well, I'd love to know. So please feel free to share it with me. You can easily email me at theinhermindpodcast@gmail.com. My only ask here, please allow me time to respond since, yes, this is still a solo act for the time being. These days, I'm a mighty team of one, both personally and professionally. So although I'm excited to engage with my audience, I'm also in need of your grace and patience. So a big thank you in advance. You can keep up with the latest happenings, give feedback, ask questions, offer ideas or topics, or even share your interest in joining me for a future conversation by engaging with us via our social channels. Right now, you can find us on Facebook or Instagram. Just look us up by name, the In Her Mind Podcast, and hit the like button or follow us to stay connected. And of course, you can listen to new podcast episodes and replay your favorites, including this episode, via our YouTube channel, simply titled In Her Mind Podcast.